everybody, it's Bunny, and today we are gonna deep dive into little portions of my thought process and maybe deep diving into what makes me a little bit more. I just have to at first say a huge thank you to all you Swamp family members out there. Over my past couple of videos, particularly the last paranormal one that I did, and then yesterday's video where I was talking about hoarding, I have received so much support and such a sense of community. It reminds me of the first days that I was on YouTube and why I fell in love with YouTube to begin with. Connecting with you guys and the friendship there, understanding that I'm not alone in the ways that I think and feel, and a lot of you guys go through similar things. We can understand each other, and I feel like once people start to become more open and share more things, just allows understanding and acceptance. I think that that is one of the most important positive things that we can do on social media in real life, is to just be a little bit more open and understanding of ourselves and the people around us. Everybody that you meet, everybody that you see is a human being, and everybody has quirks and little weird things that make them them. Like, there's not a normal person. Nothing is really normal. Nobody should be ostracized or like feeling a certain way. I mean, obviously I do have to stipulate always there are like genuinely harmful things, but I feel like most of us have little quirks or little things that we do that we feel like only we can understand. And I feel like sometimes you can feel like, oh my god, like, am I the only person that thinks this way or feels this way? And then you can open up about it and find out that no, like, a lot of other people do and think and feel the same way you do. Anyway, I feel like I have wanted to talk about germophobia and like how I have these little things that glare out to you guys a lot of times. I know some of it seems like really bizarre or inconsistent. It gets commented and it gets talked about a lot. Following the Jeffree Star Rich Lux mukbang, I always want to call him mukbang, but after that video where I was kind of like going on and on about how like I sanitize my hands and I don't touch my food, where I was saying like, oh, I've got to find like at least like 4.5 stars to eat at a fast food joint. And I guess the thing that I found upsetting was like how many people were commenting that that kind of stuff seems like snobby or off-putting, which is kind of the only factor about this that I do find discouraging. It's just like, I am not saying those things and I'm not doing those things because I feel like I'm better than anybody else or because like I feel like I'm special. Like, I just don't want to throw up. I feel like I have gotten like severely bad food poisoning in my life, and I feel like Texas is kind of like the Wild West out here. I love when I visit places like LA and New York City, because a lot of places around the country, you guys have like big food grade signs on the door that says this restaurant's an A or a B or whatever, but like in Texas, like we don't have that. Like you can only basically like look up reviews on like at Yelp or whatever to find out like, are people puking? Is it a good place to go? I've got a lot of quirks, but I'm just saying, like, if you see somebody behaving this way, or you see somebody who seems quirky, I don't know, like, I just hate, like, kind of people's little, like, mental hang-ups to be judged as snobby when it really has nothing to do with that, and there's oftentimes a lot of underlying factors that contribute to these types of behaviors, and it's not anything personal or judgmental. It's just little things that I do that give me an easier time in life, like help me get through the day. Ultimately, I feel like everything that I do, I don't really view it as a problem. I'm just out here like taking care of myself. Like if I want to use a little alcohol wipe and sanitize my phone a couple times a day, like that's not really hurting anybody. Like it doesn't require any other action or activity from anybody. Everything that I do, like, I'm doing on my own. I'm taking care of it on my own, and I really feel like it doesn't affect anybody else in the world, except for maybe Dogman, because if he gets sick, I get sick, and so I feel like more often than not, I'm like, use extra hand sanitizer. But to date, I haven't heard that he's bothered. So ultimately, I think a lot of things that confuse people is the fact that I will have old things, antiques, things like this that I've had since 1989, things that look like this, you know, things that are maybe like dusty or old or whatever. Then I'll have a problem with like germs, eating with my hands, whatever. And I can see where, like, on the surface, like, people would look at something like this and say, why are you not bothered by this, but you're bothered by that? My attention to germs is just actually germs, like things that could biologically give me a cold or the flu or some kind of like infection, something like that. Like, I don't care about dirt, like mud. I mean, I'm not like, oh yay, I would love to get caked and covered in mud today. But it's like, if I get dirty or I touch something that's dusty, or I go antiquing and I'm walking around touching old dirty things, that does not bother me at all. I'm only concerned about things that might touch my eyes, nose, and mouth, or things that would be on my hands that I would then eat and get like a stomach infection. People are saying, well, why would you keep like old paper that you've had since junior high? Like, isn't that covered in germs? Well, it's not, because physical items can only harbor live germs. The most I've read is like 72 hours, give or take. Obviously, like, different germs and viruses have different lifespans, and then different surfaces obviously can be like more porous and can somehow like hold on to germs longer. So that's a whole big deal like that. But if I buy something like this, for instance, like, I can just take one of these tiny little alcohol wipe pads or a Lysol wipe and just rub the surface, and there you go. Like, once again, I'm only concerned about eliminating like what can actively make me sick. There are some things that I do feel like retain germs longer and are harder to clean, that I do kind of like avoid for periods of time. Like, a really good example is Avatar baby. And once I took him out to Disney, like, I'm kind of like just getting over my perceptions that whether he's clean or dirty now, because so many people were touching him. A lot of you guys did actually pick up on this and notice it in the video, that like when I first walked into the park, like, I was wearing him and I was like, you know, holding the object like closely to me, and then like further on in the video, once people had been like touching all over him and asking to hold him and take pictures and whatever, like, I was then kind of like grossed out by it. Even though I did come home and like give him a bath in the hotel room that night, like, still I just do feel like with him being like silicone and stuff, that's more porous, and so probably like germs would harbor here longer. And so pretty much even once we got back from Disney World, I didn't like touch him or anything for at least like a week, just trying to let any lingering germs and bacteria run their course, do their little marathon, and then leave. Goodbye, don't need ya. Pretty much every time I used to go to Disney World, unfortunately, I would get sick. I got really sick the first time I ever went to Disneyland, and I do feel like that was kind of where I feel like my germophobia and my need to clean things kind of went in overdrive, because the first time that I went to LA, I ended up in the emergency room. Like, I will never forget, like, I'm always so thankful to Kat and her family because they took me to the emergency room. Like, I was so sick, and even when I got home from that trip, like, for probably 2 months, I could only eat soup and crackers. Like, we're talking about, that is how sick that I got. So I feel like it's sort of been like a slow transcendence from that point. That was like 2013, I believe. I do feel like I've gotten worse since 2013, but I also feel like overall I'm healthier, so I'm kind of not mad at it. I started wearing those little, I have like two different versions. Like I have these little dusk mask type things, which if you watch my recent, like, we took Avatar baby to Avatar land, and I'm wearing that like leopard thing around my neck that I say I pull up over my face if somebody sneezes or somebody coughs. I find that like most of the time, like when I'm on a bus or something like that, like people are just coughing and sneezing constantly freely, and so I started wearing like a surgical mask or the little dust masks, and I've just found that overall I have gotten sick less times that I go there. So I understand, like, maybe it looks a little weird, maybe it looks a little strange, but I will sacrifice like looking a little weird or a little strange for a 10-minute bus ride versus coming home and being sick for like 2.5 weeks after. What I do is preventative a lot of the times, once again, because my anxiety stems from sickness, being sick, feeling sick, like going to a hospital, going to a doctor, all of that kind of stuff. Like that is really the predominant source of my anxiety. So I feel like all of these activities that I do are also trying to like preemptively stop like having anxiety attacks. I have gotten a lot weirder about food stuff, and a lot of you guys were saying, well, like years ago you would eat potato chips or Pringles or whatever with your hand, and I definitely have changed. Like, don't get me wrong, like sometimes if I'm at home and I like wash my hands right there, then yeah, I'll eat a potato chip with my hand. But most of the time, even when I am home, I just do use a fork, which, I mean, once again, like I kind of don't see a problem with that. Like, Bunny likes to eat chips with a fork. Like, who really cares? It just makes me feel better and more comfortable if I'm doing everything in my power to help myself not get sick. It started out where I would eat like pizza with a fork and a knife, and then like I would eat hamburgers with a fork and a knife, and then it became like chips and salsa and blah blah blah. And oh my god, I read 2 comments. See, that's what I'm saying. This is the magic of the internet, is like people that feel alone can find each other. But I read comments from 2 different girls on Twitter saying that you'll touch a chip or french fry, but then you'll like bite it and you will just not eat the piece that you touched. Like, I have been guilty of that. Little quirks that people have, right? I sort of like extend this stuff once again to like other facets of my life. Like, I've talked about it before, like anything that I buy at a thrift store. Lysol makes this great laundry disinfectant. Not sponsored, but you can get it at like Walmart and stuff. Like, I think it's great. You just add a little bit into your washing machine, and it basically, without bleach, is supposed to be like 99.9% effective. Like, I just think of it as like hand sanitizer for the washing machine. Anytime I buy like used clothing off of Etsy, like old resale clothing, I wash them with the laundry sanitizer. When I put on clothes at the thrift store, like I'll do this little thing where obviously like I close my eyes and then I'll go like that. So if I put like a shirt over my mouth, like it won't touch my lips, which then like I'll lick my lips or something like that. So I just like tuck my lips on the inside and then I'll pull it over my head. But basically, as long as it doesn't cover or touch my mouth or like the inside of my nose or my eyes, like basically points of contact where you can get infected with germs, then I'm okay with it. Like, obviously, like the exterior of my t-shirt, like I try on clothes at the thrift store, like over what I'm wearing. I'm not gonna put this in my mouth or whatever. Like, once again, I'm just gonna take this t-shirt home, throw it in the washing machine, then there you go. Clean as a whistle. Obviously, like I do go out and sometimes like I will see something that I perceive as like so gross and dirty it will bug me. Like in that last thrift video where I went with Ty and Rich, like, and I was holding that Spider-Man mask and it literally looked as if it had vomit on it. Like, that made me feel very uncomfortable. Just know where you see like a shopping cart or something plastic and you see like a lot of like what looks like snotty fingerprints or something on it. Like, I know I'm not the only one like this. Like, we had a waiter, we were just at Disney World, and he saw me like wipe down my phone at dinner, and then we had literally a 15-minute long discussion of like all the various things and like cleaning products that we use. Like, there's a lot of us out there, okay? There's a lot of germaphobes out there. It's not that strange. It's not that weird. Any object that I take out frequently, like sometimes I'll sanitize my purses and handbags and stuff, once again, just with the little like alcohol wipes. Plus, you guys like comment so much that like to watch out for putting your purse in like the top part of shopping baskets, because people put their like kids there where there's like leaky diapers. Like, I've read so much on the internet, right? So then if I set my purse there, and like sometimes if I think about it, I'll just like sanitize the bottom of my bag. I feel like a lot of you guys get it, and then I'll see like a lot of comments like I've got some kind of mental problem, which overall I just kind of wish people wouldn't use such stigmatizing language like that. Even if I did have a problem, like kind of being insulting or rude about it isn't really helpful for me to either like work through my own issues or get therapy to work through my own issues. It's just not encouraging, and I ultimately am used to it since I am on the internet. Like, I've had everything said to me imaginable, but I just get scared because the more kind of treatment and language that I see online kind of concerns me of like how people talk to one another in real life. And I'm always an advocate for patience and understanding and love as much as possible. A lot of people are going through a lot of things that they choose to do, and a lot of things that are sort of more like quirks or tics or something that they deal with, that they're not actively making that choice to do, to be annoying or to be high maintenance or to be snobby or what, or however it might come off. They're just like doing things to like self-soothe or comfort themselves or make them feel like they have a certain amount of control over some kind of situation. I definitely do feel like I have gotten worse, but I feel like I've kind of been like this throughout my entire life. Like, I feel like my mom is like this a lot too. Like, my mom cannot wash stuff enough. She cannot wash her hands enough times. Like, even when she feels like she's been somewhere like super gross, she'll do this thing that I like, even I laugh and I'm like, oh my god, mom, that's too much. Because she'll do clean soap and dirty soap. So she'll wash her hands one time and then say that's dirty soap, and then she'll wash her hands again for the second time in a row, and then that's like clean soap. Does that really hurt anybody? No. Like, it's a 5-second minor inconvenience. Like, how long does it take you to wash your hands? Well, technically, you're supposed to sing a happy birthday song, and that is the length of time to properly wash your hands. Like, there are like medical studies like done about this, and I feel like due to the amount of time I spend online, I feel like maybe that's contributed to it worsening a little bit too, because I'll like read little things like that, and then I'll try and like indoctrinate it into my routine to make sure that I'm like washing my hands thoroughly enough, whatever. Sometimes when I'm out somewhere, particularly like dirty, like once again, Disney World, like I love Disney World. Like, I would live inside of Disney World, but I do obviously feel like it is probably one of the dirtiest places on earth. When I'm at somewhere like that, or if I'm like eating inside, like I feel like Chick-fil-A, like a lot of times the tables there just look, and it's probably just like French fry grease or whatever. Like, I can process these things. Like, I understand that I'm probably like overdoing it or whatever, but if I'm somewhere and a table just looks kind of like greasy or just like visually not clean to me, then once again, I will take out like a big like wet one wipe or like little alcohol pads or whatever, and I'll wipe down the table before I start eating. Like, it's just little things that I don't find inconvenient because I have added them so seamlessly into my life. Ultimately, like, is being clean harmful? Most objects, like antiques and whatever, can be sanitized and dusted and cleaned, and it's also just not something, like, I just set this on a shelf and I look at it, like, I'm not like touching it every day and like putting it up close to my face and like, you know, I mean, I will do that. Like, I feel like it's not, I don't know, once again, I feel like these are all like kind of quirks that I have, but also I personally don't find it a problem. Like, I don't think it's like, oh, you're such a weirdo, like let's ostracize you from society and like act like it's like a big problem. Like, it's just little things that I do, that I can do, that are in my control, that make me feel more comfortable. I also understand that there's critics out there that say if you overuse cleaning products and Lysol and whatever, that it's not good for you, it's not healthy, it lowers your immune system. And I'm not arguing with the fact that that's not true. I'm sure that's true. I'm sure there's like medical science behind that stuff. I also do understand that like germs and bacteria are on everything. And yes, there are like good bacteria and good germs. Sometimes I might be a little bit overzealous with the wiping down and the cleaning or whatever. But I will just say, since I have been more cautious with the eating and the food stuff, like I do feel like I overall have less digestive issues and less like stomach viruses and stuff. A lot of times you'll see products go through waves, like, you know, forever there was the antibacterial soap hand craze, and now you really never see soaps anymore that are labeled antibacterial. 66% of Americans do not wash their hands properly or at all, so just let that fact sink in. And also, if you don't sanitize your phone, it is dirtier than a toilet seat. This is just little snippets that I've picked up from the internet. I feel like hand sanitizer like goes through crazes and everybody's got the Purell, and then everybody's like, don't use that, it lowers your immune system. And you know, the same for everything. So like, you just have to make all these choices for yourself. Like, just like I said in the Jeffrey video, like I don't care what you do. It's your own personal choice. Like, I'm not here to like advocate like, oh, please sanitize your phone 500 times a day. Don't eat without a fork. Like, it doesn't bother me what anybody else chooses to do with their life. It makes me feel better. It makes me feel cleaner. It makes me feel more comfortable. And I feel like it helps keep my anxiety at bay sometimes. So these are just the choices that make me feel more comfortable. I never really care what anyone does, like as long as it's not hurtful to themselves or others. Like, I just kind of don't understand like kind of caring what other people do. Like, I don't know if that makes me like an apathetic sort of person, but I am just all for one, like letting people live however makes them feel the most happy, safe, and comfortable. I just want to let everybody live in the way that they feel suits themselves best. And I feel like if you're dealing with stuff like this, like you feel enough like a weirdo inside of yourself and inside of your own mind, like you really don't need other people pointing it out for you. People who have their like own rituals or routines, like they're doing it for some purpose. Like, it doesn't have to make sense to me. Everybody's going around like dealing with a lot of stuff, right? So if I see somebody doing something that makes them feel comfortable, like who am I to stop them? I just think that we all need to be more open and loving and supportive of one another, because everybody is going through something. Everybody's dealing with something, and a lot of reasons that people have this or that or the other is because they've gone through stuff, or they've had bad experiences or whatever, and now they've just kind of come up with their own routine and coping mechanisms to help them deal with whatever they need to deal with. I'm like, if I just don't want to touch Advil and I want to put it in my mouth from the cap, like, it's really not hurting anybody. It just takes 2 seconds. Actually, it doesn't take any additional time. You're either like pouring it in your hand or pouring it into a cap and then putting it in your mouth. Like, it's just like, I don't know. It's not like an inconvenience to anybody else. It's just like what I choose to do. I really don't want to get into like how many times I've gotten sick after eating somewhere and like food poisoning. I feel like a lot of that stemmed from when I was really little. Like, I was sick all the time. I just feel like that's kind of just gross details that you guys like don't want to hear about, like particular sicknesses. I just feel like I've had things in my life like that happen to me, to the point that now this is why I am. Like, I spent so much time as a kid like at the doctor, at the hospital. I was sick very, very often until I got out of school entirely, like even college. Like I got a super virus in college, and I even like, it led to me getting like pleurisy, which is normally like something that older people only get, and I got it like literally when I was like 20 years old. Like there's been several periods of my life where I was sick for like 2 and 3 month chunks at a time. So like when that happens to you enough in your life, like I bet you too will be busting out the freaking rely on sterile swab. Is that my story? I don't know. I feel like I talk way too much. I know some of you guys love hanging out with me longer, and I know some people always request my videos to be shorter. But I feel like it's been a long time coming, you guys, and I'm basically over it all. I just want to have fun with you guys. I want to talk to you guys. I want to hang out with you guys. I want to do the videos that genuinely make me feel happy and like I'm enjoying creating them. And I am over chasing like views, clout, and relevancy. If I'm irrelevant, then hey, I'm irrelevant with, you know, several thousand of my closest friends, and if that's the way that it is, then that's the way that it is. It's not a big deal. Like not everybody can or should be number one, and I'm still out here doing what I love, what I'm passionate about, and sharing my life and my time with you guys. And I feel like you guys are my family, and I'm just so grateful for everyone that has stuck it through with me in this like wild, crazy journey that we've been on for the past couple of years. And I definitely do feel like I completely lost myself, but I feel like we're getting back on track now. And what I do here is gonna be some people's cup of tea and not some other people's cup of tea, and that's okay if it's not yours. And if it is yours, then welcome to the Swamp family, welcome to the Swamp party, and I'm so happy to have you. So I will see you guys in tomorrow's VLOGOWEEN episode. You guys will be seeing me every day in the month of October. But thank y'all so much for hanging out today and for watching. And if you're not already and you'd like to be, hit that button down below, subscribe, become a member of the Swamp family, and give an alligator its wings. I love you guys so much, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye!